say there are 3 things you never do in Los Angeles if you want to stay alive. You don't talk back to powerful men. You don't embarrass dangerous men in public. And you never challenge a Korean Mafia boss in his own territory. Helen broke all 3 rules in under 10 seconds. The room went dead silent. Glasses froze mid-air. Even the music stopped, like the world itself was holding its breath. Because the man standing in front of her wasn't just rich. He wasn't just feared. He was the kind of man whose name made grown men disappear. And instead of apologizing, she looked him straight in the eyes and spoke again. People thought she was about to die. What they didn't know was that the way he looked at her in that moment wasn't anger. It was interest. And once a man like that becomes interested in you, walking away is no longer an option. That night, someone followed her home. Before morning, her secrets were uncovered, and before the week was over, blood would be spilled. Not because she ran, but because she stayed. So tell me, when the most dangerous man in the city decides you belong to him, do you fight or do you fall? Before we begin, I need you to do 2 quick things. First, hit subscribe, because stories like this don't show up twice and you don't want to miss the next one. Second, drop a comment right now and tell me this. If you were in her place, would you have apologized or talked back anyway? No judgment. Be honest. Because by the end of this story, you might realize the choice you think you'd make isn't the one you'd actually survive. All right, let's begin. Helen felt the wine before she saw it, cold liquid seeping through silk to touch her skin. Her eyes traveled from the spreading stain up to the hand that had caused it, then to the face of its owner. Handsome, she noticed absently. Dangerously handsome. The kind of face that belonged on movie screens or wanted posters. Are you going to apologize or just stand there looking pretty? The words came out sharper than she intended, born from a long day and frayed nerves. The man's eyebrow lifted slowly, and somewhere behind her, someone made a sound like a strangled prayer. "You should watch where you're walking," the man said, his accent thick, his voice like ice scraping against stone. "Maybe you should watch where you're throwing your hands," Helen shot back, looking down at her ruined yellow dress. The expensive fabric was soaked through, clinging to her skin. This dress cost me 2 weeks of salary. The entire restaurant went silent. Waiters froze mid-step. The 3 men sitting at the corner table stopped eating. Even the quiet jazz music seemed to fade into nothing. Everyone stared at the African woman who had just raised her voice at Sang-woo, the man whose name made grown men weep. Sang-woo stood slowly, his tall frame unfolding like a predator, rising to full height. His black suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair swept back from a face that could have been carved from stone, beautiful and terrifying at the same time. "Do you know who I am?" he asked quietly. "Should I care?" Helen replied, even though her knees were shaking. She had heard the whispers about this restaurant, about the Korean men who owned half of Los Angeles's underground business. But she was tired, frustrated, and too angry to think straight. "I came here to translate for my boss, not to get wine thrown on me by some clumsy, rich man." A sound escaped from one of the men at the table. It might have been a gasp or a strangled laugh. The largest one, built like a mountain, stood up quickly, his hand moving toward his jacket. Helen's stomach dropped as she realized what she had done. "Biom, sit down," Sang-woo ordered without looking away from Helen. His eyes traveled slowly from her face down to her wine-stained dress, then back up again. Something flickered in those dark eyes. Surprise, maybe, or interest. "What's your name?" "Why do you want to know?" "Because people who speak to me the way you just did usually don't get to speak again," he said simply. "So I want to remember your name." Helen's heart hammered against her ribs, but she refused to show fear. Her grandmother always said that bullies could smell fear like dogs smell meat. "Helen. My name is Helen." "Helen," he repeated, tasting the name like expensive wine. "From where?" "Zambia. Not that it's your business. Sang-woo's lips curved slightly. Not quite a smile, but close. It made him look even more dangerous. You're right. It's not my business. Yet. He pulled out his phone and pressed a button. Jiwon, bring a dress from the boutique next door, size 4. Something yellow, since our guest seems to like that color. I don't want anything from you, Helen said quickly. I don't care what you want. I ruined your dress. I'm replacing it. Unless you plan to work the rest of the night looking like you bathed in wine? He tilted his head, studying her. Though I must say, you wear it better than most. Heat rushed to Helen's cheeks, though she wasn't sure if it was from anger or something else. The way he looked at her made her skin feel too tight, like her body was responding to something her mind wanted to reject. Mr. Cho. A nervous voice interrupted. An older man in an expensive gray suit approached their corner, wringing his hands. I apologize for the disturbance. Miss Helen is my translator. Please let me handle this. Your translator has spirit, Mr. Park, Sang-woo said, still watching Helen. That's rare. She's young and doesn't understand, Mr. Park said quickly, shooting Helen a warning look. Please forgive her rudeness. There's nothing to forgive. She was right. I was careless. Sang-woo gestured to his table. Join us. Your translator, too. That's very generous, but we wouldn't want to impose, Mr. Park said, his voice tight with fear. It wasn't a request. They sat. Helen found herself directly across from Sang-woo, close enough to see the small scar above his left eyebrow, close enough to smell his cologne. It was dark and woodsy, the kind of scent that made you think of midnight forests and dangerous secrets. A woman arrived with a garment bag. Inside was a yellow dress that probably cost more than Helen's monthly rent. Sang-woo nodded toward the bathroom. Go change. We'll wait. In the privacy of the marble bathroom, Helen's hands finally started shaking. She had just mouthed off to a Mafia boss, a real one. The kind who made people disappear. She should run. She should grab her purse and run straight out the back door and never look back. But the dress was beautiful. Soft silk that felt like water against her skin. It fit perfectly, hugging her curves in ways her cheap dress never had. When she looked in the mirror, she barely recognized herself. When she returned, Sang-woo's eyes darkened. He stared at her for 3 full seconds before speaking. Better. The dinner was torture. Mr. Park nervously discussed shipping contracts while Helen translated, hyper-aware of Sang-woo's gaze on her. He barely touched his food, just watched her with those intense eyes, like he was trying to solve a puzzle. You translate well, Sang-woo said during a pause in conversation. Where did you learn Korean? University. I studied languages. Why Los Angeles? Better opportunities than Lusaka, she said carefully. And yet you're translating for shipping companies instead of using that sharp tongue of yours for something more interesting. Some of us don't have the luxury of choosing interesting work. We take what pays the bills. Biyom, the mountain of a man, made a low sound. Sang-woo silenced him with a glance. Bills. Everyone has bills. What are yours? That's none of your business, Helen said firmly. You keep saying that. But everything in this city is my business eventually. He leaned forward slightly. You're not afraid of me anymore. Why? I'm terrified, Helen admitted. But acting afraid won't help me, will it? This time Sang-woo really did smile. It transformed his face completely, making him look younger, almost boyish. Smart woman, beauty and brains. That's a dangerous combination. Heat flooded through Helen's body at the compliment. She looked away, focusing on her plate, trying to ignore the way her heart was racing. This was wrong. He was a criminal, a dangerous man. She should not be feeling anything except fear. The dinner ended with Mr. Park practically dragging Helen out the door, apologizing profusely. In the parking lot, he turned on her. Do you have any idea what you did in there? That man could have killed you with a word. I know. I'm sorry. I wasn't thinking. Stay away from him. Stay far away from Sang-woo if you value your life. That night, Helen couldn't sleep. She kept replaying the encounter in her mind, the way Sang-woo had looked at her, the strange electricity that had seemed to crackle between them. She was being stupid, romantic. This wasn't some drama where the dangerous man falls for the ordinary girl. At midnight, her phone buzzed, an unknown number. "I found out about your bills, your brother, the medical treatments in Zambia, very expensive." Helen's blood ran cold. She texted back with shaking fingers. "Who is this?" "You know who. Sleep well, Helen. We'll talk soon." She stared at her phone in horror as another message arrived. "By the way, yellow is definitely your color." When she finally fell asleep near dawn, she dreamed of dark eyes and dangerous smiles, of crystal glasses shattering and silk dresses that felt like sin against her skin. She dreamed of a world where speaking back to monsters didn't get you killed. It got you noticed, and somehow that felt even more dangerous. Helen's apartment buzzer rang at 7 in the morning. She stumbled to the intercom in her pajamas, still half asleep. Who is it? Delivery for Miss Helen Tembo. She hadn't ordered anything. Suspicion crept up her spine as she opened the door to find a man in a black suit holding an enormous bouquet of white roses. Behind him stood another man with 3 large shopping bags from expensive stores. "What is this?" "Gifts from Mr. Cho," the first man said. His face was expressionless, professional. "He requests your presence at his office at 9 o'clock this morning. The address is in the card." Before she could respond, they were gone, leaving her standing in the doorway with flowers and bags. Inside were more clothes, designer outfits that must have cost thousands of dollars, shoes that matched perfectly, and a small black velvet box. She opened it with trembling fingers. Inside was a simple gold bracelet with a single charm, a small lion. The card read, "For the brave woman, my office, 9 o'clock. Don't be late. SW?" Helen should have thrown it all away. Should have blocked the number, maybe even reported him to the police. Instead, she found herself getting dressed in one of the outfits he sent, a cream-colored suit that made her look powerful and sophisticated. She hated how good it felt to wear it. Sang-woo's office was in a downtown skyscraper, the top floor with views of the entire city. The receptionist was expecting her and led her directly to a massive corner office. Sang-woo stood by the window, hands in his pockets, looking out at Los Angeles spread below like a kingdom. "You came," he said without turning around. "You didn't give me much choice. How did you find out about my brother?" "I find out everything I want to know. Princess, age 14, bone cancer, needs treatment that your insurance won't cover. You send money home every month, which is why you live in that terrible neighborhood and work 3 jobs." Now he turned, his eyes moving over her appreciatively. "You look like you belong here." "I don't want to be here. What do you want from me?" "Sit down, Helen, please." She sat in the leather chair across from his desk, hating how small it made her feel. Sang-woo poured 2 cups of tea from an expensive-looking pot, sliding one across to her. "I have a proposal. I need a translator for some important business dealings, someone who speaks multiple African languages as well as Korean, someone smart enough to catch the details that matter." He sat on the edge of his desk, close enough that she could see the dark lashes framing those intense eyes. Someone brave enough to not fall apart under pressure. "I already have a job." 3 jobs, he corrected. "That barely pay enough to survive, much less help your brother. I'm offering you 1 job that will pay more than all 3 combined. 2 months. That's all I need. At the end of 2 months, I'll make sure your brother gets the best cancer treatment available. I have connections in Johannesburg, doctors who specialize in pediatric oncology. He'll get everything he needs." Helen's throat tightened. "Why would you do that?" "Because I can. Because you interest me. Because I want to see what happens when a brave woman stops having to be quite so brave all the time." He leaned forward slightly. "Take the offer, Helen. Help your brother." "And what do I have to do for this generosity? What do you really want?" "I want you to work for me. Translate, attend meetings, sometimes dangerous meetings. I won't lie about that, but I'll protect you. No one will touch you while you're under my protection. I don't trust you. Smart. You shouldn't. He smiled that dangerous smile. But you'll do it anyway, won't you? Because your brother needs you to. She wanted to throw the tea in his face, wanted to walk out and never look back. But Princess's face floated in her mind, her baby brother who used to chase chickens around their grandmother's yard, now lying in a hospital bed too weak to walk. 2 months, she whispered. That's all. That's all, Sang-woo agreed. But something in his eyes said he was lying. The first week was overwhelming. Helen attended meetings in private rooms where men discussed shipments and territories like they were playing board games with real lives. She translated conversations about money laundering, about protection rackets, about things that made her stomach turn. But Sang-woo was always there, a constant presence at her side. He never touched her, never made inappropriate comments. But the tension between them grew with every meeting, every glance, every accidental brush of hands when he passed her documents. It was like standing next to an electrical wire, constant buzzing awareness that one wrong move could shock her. On Friday night, they worked late in his office, reviewing contracts. Helen's eyes were burning from staring at documents. She rubbed her temples, trying to ease the headache building behind her eyes. You should rest, Sang-woo said. He stood behind her chair, and suddenly his hands were on her shoulders, kneading the tight muscles. Helen gasped, electricity shooting down her spine, at his touch. Don't, she whispered. But she didn't move away. You're tense. I can help. His fingers worked magic on her shoulders, finding every knot, every sore spot. His voice dropped lower. You work too hard, Helen. Let me take care of you. This is inappropriate. Everything about us is inappropriate. His hands stilled. Tell me you don't feel it. This thing between us. Tell me you don't think about it. She couldn't, because she did think about it. Every night. Every time he looked at her with those dark eyes. Every time he smiled that rare smile that made her forget he was dangerous. I'm your employee. This can't happen. You're right. But he didn't move away. Instead, he leaned down, his breath warm against her ear. But it's going to happen anyway, we both know it. 2 weeks later, everything changed. They were leaving a meeting in a warehouse when shots rang out. Sang-woo grabbed Helen, pushing her behind a car as bullets sparked off metal. Byom and the other men returned fire, while Sang-woo covered Helen with his body, protecting her with his own flesh and bone. Stay down, he ordered, his voice hard. The shooting lasted only minutes but felt like hours. When silence finally fell, Sang-woo pulled back to look at her, his hands framing her face. Are you hurt? No, I'm fine. You? Fine. But his hands were shaking slightly as they moved through her hair, checking for injuries. They were aiming for you, to get to me. Who were they? Hyun, a rival. He's been testing my patience for months. Sang-woo's jaw clenched. I should send you away. It's too dangerous now. What about my brother? I'll still pay for his treatment, but you should go home, back to Zambia where you're safe. No. The word came out stronger than she felt. I'm staying. We made a deal. 2 months. I'm not running. Something blazed in Sang-woo's eyes. Pride, maybe. Or desire. Stubborn woman, you're going to get yourself killed. Then keep me alive. Isn't that what you promised? He stared at her for a long moment. Then, right there, in the warehouse with gunpowder still hanging in the air, he kissed her. His lips were surprisingly soft, demanding and gentle at the same time. Helen's mind screamed that this was wrong, but her body melted into him, her hands clutching his jacket as she kissed him back with equal hunger. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sang-woo pressed his forehead against hers. This is a terrible idea. The worst, Helen agreed. I destroy everything I touch. Then I'll be the first thing you don't destroy. He kissed her again, harder this time. backing her against the car. His hands slid down her sides, pulling her closer, and Helen forgot about danger and morality and everything, except the way he made her feel alive and wanted and terrified all at once. "Boss," Biam called out, his voice carefully neutral. "We should go, before the police arrive." They drove back in silence, Helen's lips still tingling, her heart still racing. At her apartment building, Sang-woo walked her to her door. "This changes things," he said quietly. "I know. I can't promise you safety anymore. Anyone who wants to hurt me will use you to do it. I know that too." He cupped her face in his hands, his thumbs stroking her cheeks. "Why aren't you running from me?" "Because maybe I'm tired of running. Maybe I want to stand still for once and see what happens." Sang-woo kissed her forehead gently, a stark contrast to the passionate kisses from earlier. "Get some sleep. Tomorrow I'm moving you to a safer apartment. Don't argue," he added when she opened her mouth. "You're mine now, Helen, and I protect what's mine." After he left, Helen leaned against her closed door, her fingers touching her lips. She had just kissed a mafia boss, a killer, a man who made people disappear. And the worst part? She wanted to do it again. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sang-woo. "Sweet dreams, brave girl. Tomorrow we start your real training." Helen's stomach flipped. She had just stepped into a world she couldn't fully understand, made a choice that would change her life forever. But as she got ready for bed, she couldn't stop smiling. Maybe danger was addictive, or maybe it was just him. The new apartment was in a high-rise building with security guards and cameras everywhere. 3 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, and furniture that probably cost more than everything Helen had ever owned combined. Sang-woo stood in the living room, watching her explore, his expression unreadable. "This is too much," Helen said, running her hand over the soft leather sofa. "It's necessary. Biam and another guard will take turns staying in the 3rd bedroom. You're never alone, never unprotected." He walked to her, taking her hand. "I know this feels like a cage, but it's the only way I can breathe knowing you're safe. Tell me the truth. How dangerous is this Hyeon?" Sang-woo's face darkened. "Very. He wants my territory, my businesses. He won't stop until he has them or until one of us is dead. Why don't you just give him what he wants? Because I built this empire from nothing. Because people depend on me. Because..." He trailed off, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. "Because I don't surrender what's mine." Over the next 3 weeks, their relationship deepened in ways that terrified Helen. Sang-woo was surprisingly tender when they were alone, cooking her breakfast before morning meetings, teaching her phrases in Korean that made her laugh, holding her hand when no one was watching. But in business, he was ruthless, making decisions that reminded her exactly who he was. They stole moments together, secret kisses in his office, late-night conversations on her apartment balcony. One rainy evening, Sang-woo arrived soaked, having walked from his car instead of using an umbrella. Helen pulled him inside, laughing, helping him out of his wet jacket. "You're going to catch a cold," she scolded, grabbing towels. "I had to see you. I've been in meetings all day and I just needed to see your face." He caught her wrist, pulling her close. Water dripped from his hair onto her cheeks as he leaned down. "You're all I think about anymore. It's becoming a problem." "Good. You've been a problem for me since the moment we met." They kissed, and this time it was slow and deep, full of hunger that had been building for weeks. Sang-woo's hands slid under her shirt, his palms warm against her skin. Helen gasped against his mouth, her fingers tangling in his wet hair. "We should stop," she whispered, but she was unbuttoning his shirt, desperate to feel more of him. "We should," he agreed. But he was lifting her, walking them toward her bedroom, kissing her neck, her jaw, anywhere he could reach. "Tell me to stop, Helen. Tell me and I will." She couldn't. She wanted this, wanted him, despite everything her logical mind screamed. They fell onto her bed, a tangle of limbs and desperate touches. Sang-woo worshipped her body with his hands and mouth, learning every curve, every spot that made her gasp. When they finally came together, Helen understood why people wrote songs about this feeling. It was like drowning and flying at the same time. Afterward, they lay tangled in her sheets, Sang-woo tracing patterns on her shoulder. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly, "about why I am the way I am." Helen turned to face him, seeing vulnerability in his eyes for the first time. "I'm listening." "I had a younger sister, Min-seo. She was 7 years younger than me, full of life and laughter. Everything good about our family." His jaw clenched. "When I was 23, I was just starting in this business. I thought I was smart, invincible. I made enemies without thinking about consequences. One of those enemies took Min-seo to punish me. She was 16. Helen's heart clenched. "What happened?" "They killed her. Sent her body back piece by piece until my father paid their ransom, but by then it was too late." His voice was flat, emotionless, but his hands were shaking. "I hunted every single one of them down. It took me 3 years, but I found them all. What I did to them would give you nightmares." "I'm so sorry." "After that, I swore I'd never care about anyone again. Caring makes you weak, gives your enemies ammunition. I built walls so high that nothing could touch me." He pulled her closer. "Then you walked into my restaurant and yelled at me in front of everyone. And for the first time in 8 years, I felt something other than rage." Helen kissed him softly. "I'm not Min-seo. I'm not fragile. I can protect myself." "I know, but I've already lost everyone I loved. I can't lose you, too." "Then don't push me away. Let me in. Let me be strong with you instead of for you." They made love again, slower this time, like they were memorizing each other. When Helen finally fell asleep in his arms, she felt safer than she had in years. For the first time since leaving Zambia, she wasn't alone. 2 days later, Biam cornered her in the kitchen while Sang-woo was in a meeting. The big man looked uncomfortable, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "I need to tell you something," he said, "about the boss." "What about him?" "He's different with you, softer. That's good, but it's also dangerous. His enemies will notice. They'll use it against him." "I know that. Do you? Do you really understand what it means to be connected to someone like Sang-woo?" Biom's expression was serious. "Women have died for less. He has enemies who would do anything to hurt him. And now that he cares about you, you're the biggest target." "He told me the risk. I'm staying anyway." Biom studied her for a long moment, then nodded slowly. "You're braver than I thought. Or crazier. Maybe both." He hesitated, then added, "For what it's worth, I'm glad he found you. He's been dead inside for so long. You brought him back to life." That evening, Helen decided to learn more about Sang-woo's business. Not just the meetings she translated, but the real operations. What she discovered shocked her. Yes, he ran illegal operations, protection schemes, and underground gambling, but he also ran legitimate businesses that employed hundreds of Korean immigrants. He paid for kids' school supplies, helped families with medical bills, protected shop owners from worse gangs. "You're not just a criminal," she said that night over dinner. "You're helping people. Don't make me into a hero. I do what benefits me. Loyal employees are good for business. That's not why you do it. I've seen the way people look at you. You're protecting your community." Sang-woo set down his chopsticks. "My father immigrated here with nothing, worked himself to death trying to provide for us. When he got sick, no one helped. We lost everything. I swore I'd never let that happen to anyone under my protection. So yes, I help people, but I'm still a criminal, Helen. Don't forget that. I'm not trying to change you or redeem you. I just want to understand you." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "I don't deserve you. You know that, right? Maybe I don't deserve you either. Maybe we're both exactly what we need." Their peaceful moment shattered when Sang-woo's phone rang. His expression changed as he listened, turning cold and dangerous. "When? How many men? I'm on my way." "What happened?" "Jan just hit 3 of my businesses, burned them to the ground." He grabbed his jacket. I need to handle this. Stay here. Don't open the door for anyone except Biom. Be careful. He kissed her hard, a kiss that felt like goodbye. If something happens to me, Biom has instructions. You'll be taken care of. Your brother, too. Nothing is going to happen to you. You don't know that. Yes, I do, because you promised to protect me, and you can't do that if you're dead. So you're going to be careful, and you're going to come back to me, understand? For a moment, the cold Mafia boss melted away, and he was just a man, looking at the woman he loved. How did you become so important to me so fast? Same way you became important to me. We just stopped fighting it. After he left, Helen couldn't sit still. She paced the apartment, ignoring Biom's advice to rest. Something felt wrong, like a storm building on the horizon. When her phone rang, showing an unknown number, her hand trembled as she answered. "Hello, Helen." The voice was smooth, male, speaking accented English. "You don't know me, but I know everything about you. I'm Hyon. I think it's time we met. How did you get this number?" Helen demanded, her heart racing. "I have my ways. Sang-woo thinks he's so careful, so protected. But everyone has weaknesses. You're his." Hyun's voice was pleasant, almost friendly, which somehow made it more terrifying. "I'm watching you right now, actually. Pretty yellow dress. Same color as the first night you met." Helen ran to the window, searching the streets below. Dozens of windows looked back at her from other buildings. He could be anywhere. "What do you want?" "Just to talk. I'm sending a car. If you don't come alone, your brother in Zambia dies. If you tell Sang-woo, your brother dies. If you try to run, your brother dies. Do we understand each other?" Her blood ran cold. "Yes." "Good girl. 5 minutes. Don't keep me waiting." Biom was dozing on the couch when Helen slipped past him, grabbing her phone and keys. The elevator ride down felt like descending into hell. A black car waited outside, exactly as Hyun promised. The driver said nothing, just drove through the night to a warehouse district near the docks. Inside, Hyun was waiting. He was younger than she expected, maybe early 30s, handsome in a sharp way that reminded her of broken glass. Beautiful, but dangerous to touch. The famous Helen. "You're even prettier than the pictures." He gestured to a chair. "Please sit, I won't bite. Yet. What do you want from me?" "Information. Sang-woo's operations, his connections, his weaknesses. Give me what I need and your brother lives. Maybe you live too, if you're very cooperative. I won't betray him." "No? Not even for your baby brother? I have men in Lusaka right now, watching his hospital. One phone call and he has an unfortunate accident with his medication. Tragic, really. So young." Tears burned Helen's eyes. "Please don't hurt him. He's just a child." "Then help me. Tell me what I need to know." Before Helen could answer, gunfire erupted outside. Hyun's expression darkened as he grabbed her, pressing a gun to her head. "Seems your boyfriend doesn't follow instructions either." The warehouse doors exploded inward. Sang-woo stood there, gun drawn, his face twisted with fury. Behind him, Biom and 6 other men fanned out, weapons ready. "Let her go, Hyun. This is between us." "Actually, she's what makes it interesting." Hyun's grip tightened on Helen's arm. "Did she tell you I threatened her? Brother? Did she mention our little phone call?" Sang-woo's eyes flickered to Helen. She saw the hurt there, the betrayal. "Helen? I'm sorry. He said he'd kill Princess if I told you. I didn't know what else to do." "You should have trusted me," Sang-woo said quietly. Then louder. "Hyun, let's make a deal. Me for her. That's what you really want anyway." "Tempting, but I think I'll keep you both. Kill you, keep her. She's beautiful enough to make up for all this trouble." Everything happened at once. Biom charged from the left while Sang-woo fired from the right. Hyun shoved Helen away, reaching for his weapon. She hit the ground hard, pain exploding in her shoulder. Through the chaos of gunfire and shouting, she saw Sang-woo fighting his way toward her, desperate to reach her. A bullet grazed his side. He stumbled but didn't stop. When he finally reached Helen, he covered her body with his, protecting her the way he always did. "I've got you," he said. "I've got you." They escaped in the confusion, Jan's men falling back under the assault. In the car speeding away from the warehouse, Sang-woo pressed a cloth to his bleeding side while Helen cried, unable to stop shaking. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know what to do. He threatened Princess and I panicked." "Shh, it's okay. You're safe now." "No, it's not okay. I should have told you. I should have trusted you." She looked at his bleeding wound. "You're hurt because of me. I'm alive because you're worth fighting for." He pulled her close despite the pain it must have caused. "We need to move your brother. Tonight. I'm calling my contacts in South Africa. Princess will be in a private facility by morning with armed guards. Jan can't touch him there." "How can you be so calm? I put us all in danger." "You were protecting someone you love. I understand that better than anyone." He tilted her chin up. "But promise me something. No more secrets. Whatever happens from here, we face it together. Deal?" "Deal." Back at a new safe house, different from the apartment, a private doctor treated Sang-woo's wound while Helen watched anxiously. The bullet had passed through cleanly, missing anything vital, but he'd lost blood. "You're lucky," the doctor said, packing up his supplies. "Rest for a few days. No unnecessary movement." After the doctor left, Sang-woo pulled Helen onto the bed beside him, careful of his injury. "Stop looking so guilty. I've had worse. I hate that I caused this." "You didn't cause anything. Jan did, and he's going to pay for touching you." They lay together in the darkness, Helen's head on Sang-woo's chest, listening to his heartbeat, strong and steady and alive. "Tell me about Zambia," he said softly, "about your life before all this." So she did. She told him about growing up in Lusaka, about her grandmother's small farm, about Princess chasing chickens and climbing trees, about her dreams of traveling the world, of making enough money to build her grandmother a real house, with electricity and running water, about how cancer had stolen those dreams and replaced them with fear. "When this is over, we'll go there together," Sang-woo said. "I want to meet your grandmother, see where you grew up." "You'd come to Zambia with me?" "I'd follow you anywhere. Don't you know that by now?" The next morning, everything changed again. Byam came to the safe house with news that turned Sang-woo's face to stone. It was Jae-sung, from our supply chain. He's been feeding information to Hyeon for 6 months. Phone records prove it. He's the one who told Hyeon about Helen's brother, gave him her private number. Jae-sung. Sang-woo's voice was deadly quiet. "My friend since childhood? The man I trusted with everything? I'm sorry, boss. But the evidence is clear. He's meeting with Jan's people right now at the restaurant on 5th. Sang-woo stood slowly, ignoring his injury. His expression was terrifying, empty of all emotion. "Gather everyone. We end this tonight." "Sang-woo, you're hurt," Helen protested. "You should rest." "I'll rest when Hyeon is dead and my traitor friend is dealt with." He cupped her face. "I need you to stay here. This is going to get ugly." "I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. You once told me I was yours. That goes both ways. Where you go, I go. We're in this together, remember?" He stared at her for a long moment, then pulled her into a fierce kiss. "You're going to be the death of me, brave girl." "Not if I can help it." At the restaurant, they found Jae-sung sitting alone at a corner table, drinking wine. He looked up when they entered, and something like regret flashed across his face. "Sang-woo, I wondered when you'd figure it out." "Why?" Sang-woo's voice shook with suppressed rage. "I gave you everything. I trusted you like a brother. Why betray me?" "Because Hyun has my wife and daughter. He took them 6 months ago, said he'd kill them if I didn't help him destroy you." Jae-sung's hands trembled around his glass. "I'm sorry. I never wanted this. But what would you have done? How do you choose between loyalty and family?" The anger drained from Sang-woo's face. "Where are they?" "I don't know. He moves them constantly. If I knew, I would have told you. I've been trying to find them, but Jan's too careful." Helen stepped forward before she could stop herself. Then work with us. Help us take Hyun down and we'll find your family. You can't promise that. No, but we can try, and trying together is better than this. She looked at Sang-woo. Tell him we'll help. Sang-woo was silent for a long moment, his jaw clenched. Finally, he nodded. Tell me everything. Every meeting, every plan, every location you know. Help me end Hyun, and I'll do everything in my power to bring your family home. Jae-sung broke down crying, telling them everything. The weapons shipment coming next week, the warehouse where Hyun stored his money, the corrupt police officers on his payroll. It poured out of him like poison being drained from a wound. They were so focused on planning their attack that no one noticed the man in the corner, the one with the phone pressed to his ear, the one who slipped out the back door. By the time they realized they'd been overheard, Hyun's men were already surrounding the building. It's a trap, Byum said, looking out the window at the gathering forces. We're outnumbered 3-1. Sang-woo pulled Helen close, his expression grim. No matter what happens, you run. You get out, and you don't look back. Promise me. I'm not leaving you. Promise me, Helen. Before she could answer, the windows exploded inward in a hail of gunfire, and the world dissolved into chaos. Glass rained down like deadly snow. Helen screamed as Sang-woo threw her behind the bar, his body covering hers while bullets tore through the restaurant. Tables splintered, bottles exploded, the air filled with smoke and the smell of gunpowder. Stay down, Sang-woo ordered, then rolled away, returning fire with the precision of someone who'd done this 100 times before. Byum fought like a man possessed, taking down 3 attackers in quick succession. Jae-sung surprised everyone by grabbing a fallen gun and shooting 2 men trying to flank them. Whatever guilt he carried, he was fighting to make amends now. There's too many, Byum shouted. We need to fall back. The kitchen, Sang-woo called back. There's a door to the alley. Go. They fought their way through the chaos. Helen grabbed a heavy bottle and smashed it over an attacker's head when he got too close, survival instinct overriding her fear. Sang-woo looked at her with something like pride before shooting the man coming up behind her. They burst into the alley to find more of Hyun's men waiting. This time, Sang-woo wasn't fast enough. A bullet caught him in the chest, spinning him around. He went down hard, blood spreading across his shirt. No, Helen screamed, dropping beside him. His eyes were wide with shock, his breath coming in short gasps. No, no, no. Stay with me. Sang-woo, stay with me. Byum stood over them, firing methodically, dropping anyone who tried to approach. Jae-sung covered their other side, his face set in grim determination. We need to move him, Byum said, now, before more arrive. They carried Sang-woo to one of the cars, Helen pressing her hands desperately against his chest, trying to stop the bleeding. His blood was everywhere, hot and slick. Too much blood. Don't you dare die, she sobbed. You promised to protect me. You can't protect me if you're dead. Stay with me. Please stay with me. Sang-woo's hand found hers, squeezing weakly. Brave girl, my brave girl. The private hospital was 40 minutes away, the longest 40 minutes of Helen's life. She talked to Sang-woo the entire time, telling him about their future, about the life they'd build together, about meeting her grandmother and eating nshima under the African sun. His eyes stayed open, focused on her face, holding on to consciousness through sheer willpower. You'll meet Princess when he's healthy, she said, tears streaming down her face. He'll love you. Everyone will love you because I love you. Do you hear me? I love you, and you don't get to leave me now. Love you too, he whispered. Worth it. All of it. Worth it for you. Then his eyes closed, and the machine started screaming, and doctors rushed in, pushing Helen aside. The last thing she saw before they took him away was blood. So much blood, and his hand falling limply to the gurney. Byum caught her as her legs gave out, holding her while she broke apart. He's strong. He'll make it. You don't know that? Nobody knows that. Hours passed like years. Helen sat in the waiting room covered in Sang-woo's blood, unable to think or feel or do anything except stare at the operating room doors. Byam brought her coffee she didn't drink. Jae-sung sat nearby, his head in his hands, consumed by guilt. Finally, a doctor emerged, looking exhausted. He's alive. The bullet missed his heart by centimeters. He's lost a lot of blood, but he's stable. The next 48 hours are critical. Helen nearly collapsed with relief. Can I see him? Soon. He's in recovery now. While they waited, Byam's phone rang. He listened, his expression changing from concern to shock to something like awe. When he hung up, he stared at Helen like he was seeing her for the first time. "What?" she asked. "That was my contact in Zambia. He was arranging your brother's transfer and found something interesting while processing the paperwork." Byam hesitated. "Helen, who was your father? Your real father?" "I never knew him. He died before I was born." "Why?" "Because according to these documents, your father was Chanda Tembo. Does that name mean anything to you?" She shook her head. Chanda Tembo was one of the biggest diamond dealers in southern Africa. Not legal diamonds, conflict diamonds. He worked with cartels across 3 continents, moving stones worth millions. He died in a plane crash 23 years ago, but his empire didn't die with him. It's been held in trust, waiting for his heir. Byam looked at her steadily. "You're his heir, Helen. You're worth approximately $47 million. Maybe more. Your father's associates have been looking for you for years." The world tilted sideways. Helen grabbed the chair for support. "That's impossible. My mother never said anything. My grandmother never mentioned it." "Your mother probably didn't know the extent of his wealth, or she was protecting you from that world. But it's real. I have documentation, account numbers, contacts. You have resources now, power, connections to people who could crush Hyun like an insect. I don't want that money. It's blood money. Maybe, but it's yours. And right now, Sang-woo needs it. We all need it. Hyun has been winning because he has unlimited resources. Now you do too." Helen's mind spun. She thought about Sang-woo lying in surgery, about the war that had nearly killed them all, about the power she suddenly had to end this nightmare. What do I need to do? Over the next week, while Sang-woo lay in a coma, Helen transformed. She met with her father's old associates, hard men with sharp eyes who tested her, looking for weakness. She didn't give them any. She used her inheritance to buy information, to hire protection, to trace Hyun's operations back to their source. She also found Jae-sung's family. They'd been held in a warehouse in Long Beach, guarded but unharmed. Helen sent Byum with 20 armed men to get them out. The reunion between Jae-sung and his wife was tearful and beautiful, proof that some things were worth fighting for. "Thank you," Jae-sung said, holding his daughter close. "I don't deserve this. I don't deserve your kindness." "Everyone deserves a second chance," Helen replied. "Use yours well." She also moved Princess to the best cancer facility in Los Angeles, where Sang-woo's promised doctors could treat him directly. Her grandmother came too, the first time she'd ever left Zambia. When Helen met her at the airport, the old woman took one look at her and smiled. "You've changed, my child. You stand like a queen now." "I'm just trying to save the man I love." Love changes us, makes us stronger. Your mother loved your father despite knowing what he was. You're the same, loving this dangerous man, but love is its own kind of bravery. On the 8th day, Sang-woo woke up. Helen was sitting beside his bed, reading aloud from a Korean novel he'd once mentioned liking, when his fingers twitched. She dropped the book, grabbing his hand. "Sang-woo, can you hear me?" His eyes opened slowly, unfocused at first, then sharpening when they found her face. "Helen, you're real, not dreaming." "I'm real. You're awake." "Oh God, you're awake." She kissed his hand, his forehead, his lips, crying and laughing at the same time. "I thought I'd lost you." "Can't get rid of me that easily." His voice was rough, barely a whisper, but his grip on her hand was strong. "What happened? Jan?" "Still out there, but not for long." She told him everything. About her father, about the inheritance, about the resources she'd gathered. His eyes widened with each revelation. You're an heiress. A real one. I guess so. Does it change anything? Yeah. It means you're way out of my league now. But he was smiling, that rare, beautiful smile that made her heart skip. My brave girl became a queen while I was sleeping. I'm still your brave girl, just one with more tools to fight with. He pulled her down for a deeper kiss, ignoring the monitor's beeping protests about his elevated heart rate. I love you. Did I say that before I passed out? You did. I said it too. Good. Because I'm going to say it 1,000 more times. I love you, Helen Tembo, heiress, translator, woman who yells at mafia bosses. I love every part of you. They were interrupted by Biam, who looked relieved to see Sang-woo awake. Boss, we have a problem. Yan knows about Helen's inheritance. He's planning something big. My sources say he's calling in every favor he has, gathering men from as far as Seattle and San Francisco. Let him gather, Sang-woo said, his voice gaining strength. We have something he doesn't. We have everything to fight for. 2 days later, Sang-woo checked himself out of the hospital against medical advice. He was weak but determined, ready to end this war. They gathered their forces at a warehouse Helen had purchased with her new wealth. The room was full of hard men, all loyal to Sang-woo, all ready to fight. Sang-woo stood before them, still moving carefully because of his injury, his hand clasped with Helen's. Tonight we end Hyun, not for territory, not for money, but because he threatened our families, because he forced good men to betray their friends, because he needs to learn that some things are worth more than power. The men cheered, fists raised, ready for battle. But as they prepared to move out, Baeom received an urgent call. His face went pale as he listened. Boss, it's Jae-sung. He went to confront Hyun alone. Said it was his fault this war started, his responsibility to end it. He's at Hyun's main compound right now. That fool, Sang-woo breathed. He's going to get himself killed. They rushed to the compound, a fortified building near the harbor. They were too late. As they approached, a massive explosion rocked the building, flames shooting into the night sky. The heat hit them even from a block away. Through the chaos and smoke, a figure stumbled out. Jae-sung, burned and bleeding, but alive. He collapsed into Baeom's arms. Did it! Set charges. Hyun was inside, got proof first, recorded everything, his crimes, his operations. He coughed, blood staining his lips. My family is safe now. That's all that matters. You're going to be fine, Sang-woo said. But they both knew it was a lie. Jae-sung's injuries were too severe. Tell my wife I'm sorry. Tell my daughter her father tried to be brave at the end. His eyes found Helen. Thank you for showing us what real courage looks like. Woman who yells at mafia bosses. He died before the ambulance arrived, a smile on his burned face, finally at peace. Later, they confirmed that Hyun had died in the explosion, along with most of his top men. The war was over. But as Helen held Sang-woo while he grieved for his friend, she understood that victory always came with a price. 3 days after the explosion, as Sang-woo recovered and Helen dealt with police questioning about her father's estate, Baeom brought news that made them both freeze. Yeon's second-in-command survived. She escaped the building before the explosion. Her name is Sun Hai, and she's vowed revenge for Hyun's death. She's already killed 2 of our people in San Diego. Sang-woo pulled Helen close, his jaw clenched. It's never really over, is it? Then we keep fighting. Together, like we promised. They stood at the window of Sang-woo's office, looking out at the city they'd fought so hard to protect, knowing that somewhere out there, a new enemy was gathering strength. But they had each other. They had resources. They had an army of loyal people. And most importantly, they had love worth fighting for. 3 months passed like a dream. Sun Hai turned out to be more ghost than threat. Sang-woo's people tracked her movements across 3 states, each time arriving to find she'd disappeared hours before. She was smart, careful, and patient, but she was also alone, her organization scattered by Hyun's death. "She'll make a mistake eventually," Byom said during one of their strategy meetings. "Everyone does." Helen had other concerns. Princess was responding well to treatment, his cancer shrinking with each round of chemotherapy. Her grandmother had fallen in love with Los Angeles, spending her days in the Korean gardens downtown, making friends with elderly Korean women who taught her new recipes. The 2 worlds of Helen's life were blending in ways she'd never imagined possible. But the biggest change was in Sang-woo himself. He was slowly dismantling his illegal operations, using Helen's inheritance and his own savings to convert everything legitimate. Protection rackets became private security firms. Underground gambling operations transformed into licensed establishments. He was still powerful, still respected, but now his empire was built on legal foundations. "You're changing me," he said one evening as they reviewed business plans in his office. "Making me soft. I'm not changing you. I'm just loving the parts of you that were always there." Helen moved to sit on his desk, running her fingers through his hair. "The man who helps immigrant families, the man who paid for a stranger's brother's cancer treatment, that's who you really are. I'm still dangerous. I've done terrible things. I know. But you're also the man who makes me breakfast and teaches me Korean curse words and holds me when I have nightmares. You're both people. I love both people." He pulled her into his lap, careful of the fading scar on his chest. "Marry me." Helen's heart stopped. "What?" "Marry me. I know it's fast. I know we've been through hell, but I don't want to waste time pretending I don't want forever with you." He cupped her face, his eyes intense. "I want to wake up next to you every morning. I want to fight with you about stupid things and make up in interesting ways. I want to meet your entire family and introduce you to mine. I want everything, Helen. With you, only you." "That was the worst proposal ever," she said, tears streaming down her face. "No ring, no romance, just demanding marriage like you demand everything else. Is that a no?" "It's a yes, you impossible man. Yes, I'll marry you." He kissed her deeply, one hand tangling in her hair, the other pulling her closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathless, Sang-woo pulled a small box from his desk drawer. "I lied. I have a ring. Had it for 3 weeks, waiting for the right moment." The ring was perfect. A simple band with a single diamond, elegant and understated. It fit like it was made for her. "How did you know my size?" "I have my ways." He slid it onto her finger, then kissed her hand. "Now you're really mine. Forever mine." They planned 2 ceremonies. A traditional Korean wedding for Sang-woo's family and associates. Elaborate and formal with beautiful hanboks and ancient rituals. Then a Zambian ceremony for Helen's family with music and dancing and her grandmother blessing their union in Bemba. Both ceremonies were perfect in different ways. During the Korean wedding, Sang-woo looked at Helen like she was the only person in the world, his eyes soft with love. During the Zambian ceremony, he danced with her grandmother, making the old woman laugh until tears ran down her face. "You chose well," her grandmother told Helen. "He has a good heart underneath all that scary business." Princess, stronger now with a full head of new hair growing in, served as ring bearer for both ceremonies. "My sister married a gangster," he teased. "Wait until I tell my friends." "Former gangster," Sang-woo corrected with a smile. "Now I'm just a businessman who happens to know how to handle a gun. And my brother-in-law," Helen added, hugging Princess close, "which means you're stuck with both of us forever." The honeymoon was 2 weeks in Zambia. Sang-woo fell in love with the country, with its vast landscapes and warm people. They visited Victoria Falls, where the mist created constant rainbows, and Sang-woo pulled Helen close, shouting over the roar of the water, "This is where you're from. This wild, beautiful place. No wonder you're so brave." They spent days at her grandmother's farm, now renovated with Helen's inheritance. Electricity, running water, a real kitchen. Her grandmother cried when she saw it, unable to believe her good fortune. Sang-woo helped with farm work, learning to milk goats and harvest vegetables, looking completely out of place in his expensive clothes, but happy in a way Helen had never seen before. "I could live here," he said one evening as they watched the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. "Leave everything behind and just be a farmer with you." "You'd be bored in a week." "Maybe, but it's nice to imagine. A simple life. No enemies, no danger, just us and the land and peace. We'll have peace, just a different kind, back in LA in our own home, with our own life." When they returned to Los Angeles, Byam met them at the airport with news. "We found Sun Hai. She was hiding in Vancouver. When we approached her, she didn't fight. Just asked to talk to you, boss. Says she has information you need." They met in a neutral location, a coffee shop in Koreatown. Sun Hai was younger than Helen expected, maybe 25, with tired eyes and nervous hands. "I'm not here for revenge," she said immediately. "I know I said that. I was angry and grief-stricken. But I've had time to think. Jan was destroying himself long before you came along. He was paranoid, violent, making enemies everywhere. You just finished what he started." "So why meet us?" Sang-woo asked warily. "To warn you. Jan had connections with suppliers in Asia, bad people who won't care that he's dead. They'll want their money, and when they can't find him, they'll come looking for you. You need to be ready." She slid a folder across the table. Inside were names, dates, shipment schedules, everything they needed to prepare. "Why help us?" Helen asked. "Because I'm tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of looking over my shoulder. Tired of this life." Sun Hai looked at Helen directly. "You got out. You found something real with him. That's all I ever wanted. Maybe this is my penance, helping instead of hurting." They let her go with a warning to disappear completely. True to her word, she vanished, and they never heard from her again. Using Sun Hai's information, Sang-woo's people intercepted the Asian suppliers before they could cause trouble, negotiating a peaceful settlement that involved returning Hyun's debts plus interest. It cost millions, but it bought them peace. 6 months after their wedding, Helen discovered she was pregnant. She told Sang-woo over breakfast, watching his face transform from confusion to shock to pure joy. "A baby! We're having a baby! We're having a baby!" He swept her into his arms, spinning her around their kitchen, laughing like a child. "I'm going to be a father. Helen, I'm going to be a father. A good one, the best one." The pregnancy was difficult at first, morning sickness that lasted all day, exhaustion that left her sleeping 12 hours at a time. Sang-woo was attentive to the point of being annoying, monitoring everything she ate, making sure she rested, driving her to every appointment. "I'm pregnant, not dying," she complained after he tried to carry her upstairs. "You're carrying my child, our child. I'm going to take care of you whether you like it or not." As her belly grew, Sang-woo became even more protective. He refused to let her attend any business meetings that might be stressful. He hired the best doctors, prepared a nursery that looked like something from a magazine, read every parenting book he could find. "You're going to be an amazing father," Helen said one night as he read to her belly, his hand warm against her skin. "I'm terrified. What if I mess up? What if I'm like my father, all work and no affection? What if our child hates me?" "Impossible. You're kind and patient and loving. You've already given this baby everything they could need. Besides, I'll be there to help. We're a team, remember?" The baby came 3 weeks early, a tiny girl with Helen's dark skin and Sang-woo's intense eyes. They named her Min Seo, after his lost sister, and Chanda, after Helen's father. When Sang-woo held his daughter for the first time, tears streamed down his face. "She's perfect, absolutely perfect." "Just like her father," Helen said, exhausted but happy. They brought Min Seo home to the house they'd bought overlooking the Pacific Ocean. It was a peaceful neighborhood, far from the city center, far from the world of violence and danger that had consumed so much of their lives. Princess lived with them now, cancer-free and attending high school, already talking about college. Helen's grandmother visited often, teaching Minseo Bemba lullabies and telling stories about Zambia. One evening, when Minseo was 6 months old, Helen found Sang-woo standing on their balcony, watching the sunset with their daughter in his arms. The baby was sleeping peacefully, tiny fists curled against his chest. "What are you thinking about?" Helen asked, wrapping her arms around him from behind. "About how far we've come. A year and a half ago, you threw wine on your dress and yelled at me in a restaurant. I thought you were crazy. Now you're my wife, the mother of my child, the reason I wake up every morning grateful to be alive." "I didn't throw wine on my dress. You did." "Details." He turned to kiss her, careful not to wake Minseo. "I love you. More than I thought it was possible to love someone. You took a broken man and made him whole again. We made each other whole. That's how love works." They stood there as the sun sank into the ocean, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink and purple. Behind them, through the open door, they could hear Princess laughing at something on television. Inside, their home was warm and bright, filled with the kind of peace they'd fought so hard to achieve. "Do you ever regret it?" Sang-woo asked quietly, yelling at that scary mafia boss, walking into this dangerous world. Helen looked up at the man she loved, at the baby sleeping in his arms, at the life they'd built together from violence and fear and impossible odds. She thought about the woman who'd walked into that restaurant so many months ago, tired and frustrated and broke. That woman had no idea that one moment of bravery would change everything. "Not for a single second," she said. "I'd do it all again. Every dangerous moment, every terrifying fight, every impossible choice, because it led me here, to you, to us, to this perfect moment." Sang-woo smiled, that rare, beautiful smile that still made her heart skip. "You dared to talk back to a monster and turned him human again. You're my miracle, Helen. You're my impossible, brave, beautiful miracle." They kissed as the sun disappeared below the horizon, their daughter sleeping peacefully between them, the ocean whispering its ancient rhythms below. Somewhere in the city, life continued with all its chaos and danger, but here, in this moment, they were safe. They were home. They were loved, and that was worth everything. The end was just their beginning, a story of courage and love that would echo through generations, pass down to Minseo and her children and their children after that. The story of the African lady who dared to talk back to a Korean mafia boss, and how that single act of defiance became a forever kind of love. If you enjoyed this story of courage, danger, and true love, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more amazing romance stories. Drop a comment below telling us where you're watching from and which moment was your favorite. Hit that notification bell so you never miss our next thrilling tale. Thank you for being part of our story family.